Hello and welcome to Islamic Finance Weekly. I am Rahma Say Muhammad. As you all know, Islamic Finance Weekly is dedicated to shedding more light on non-interest finance or Islamic finance space. And keeping that in mind, we'll be talking about understanding the imperative of Sharia compliance investment or ethical investment on the program today. And joining me in the studio today once again, is Suleiman Zainab Olaitan, the Public Relations Analyst, Marble Capital Limited. Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Zainab, welcome on the show.
Hello, Rahma. Thank you for having me over. At this point, I think I'm practical family.
Honestly, welcome to the family. Well, today we'll just go right into our discussion today, which is basically Sharia compliance investment or ethical investment. So, to a layman, what is Sharia compliance investment?
Okay, to break it down simply, Sharia compliance investment strictly refers to investment options or transactions that goes in line within the boundaries of the Sharia, that stays within the law and principle of Sharia. That is, it doesn't go beyond. For instance, you don't invest in breweries, you don't invest in pork, you don't invest in anything that is obscene. That is, anything that is outside the bounds of Sharia, you do not invest in. That's just as simple as it can get.
Thank you, Olaitan, for that very brief introduction or explanation of Sharia compliance. So now let's move to the ethical investment options that we have in the non-interest finance space, especially here in Nigeria.
Okay, so basically, ethical investment basically speaks to ESG related investment. That is, they can also refer to it as impact investment. That is, it is not just about making profit alone, it's also about taking note of the impact of your actions on the environment and the importance of keeping our environment clean, good, and to continue the circle, right, of having a clean energy environment. So you have several opportunities. For instance, I think one of the reigning investment opportunities is the carbon exchange market or carbon brokerage. Simply what it talks about is the fact that, for instance, company A, there's a certain percentage, right, of what a production company, the carbon they can emit into the air, right? And in compliance with that level of emission, if company A, Rama, and company B, Zainab, are into productions, for instance, right, you can have emitting carbon into the air, I'm emitting carbon into the air, but I don't reach the number or the level of emission. You, Rahma, can, and you have gone beyond the level of emission into the air, you can buy carbon credits from me. It can be sold to you. That way, I think those kind of policies helps us to regulate the number, the amount of carbon emission. And you know that even companies are now incorporating those things into their policies. They are trying to go more green, right? Less plastic usage, proper recycling processes, and all those things. You have ratings now. You have ratings, different kind of opportunities that you can look into, and some of them are, yes, Sharia compliance, right? Even Islam encourages us to not indulge in activities that is a detriment to the environment we exist in. Rather, it should be something that will promote and keep the environment green, right? So there are several, I'm sure there are several equities, commercial papers, and all those things that are ethical and that are Sharia compliant. However, it is important to know that because something is ethical does not make it Sharia compliant. Right? Something can be Sharia compliant and it wouldn't be ethical. And something can be ethical and it wouldn't be Sharia compliant. The difference is Sharia compliance stays within the principles, the scope of the Sharia, right? While ethical simply means that whatever you're doing does not have any negative impact on the environment that you are existing in. A brewery can be ethical, right? They can engage in activities that help them make their environments healthy, right? However, a brewery is not Sharia compliant because you cannot purchase, buy, or sell alcohol, right? And you cannot invest in them. So therefore, it isn't Sharia compliant. So it is very, very important for us to note the difference, right? And there are investment opportunities out there that are both ethical and Sharia compliant. You have commodities investments. It's ethical and it's Sharia compliant because, number one, you are working with the green nature, right? It's commodities, it's product, consumables.
Right.
right? And you're doing it in every ethical way. You're maintaining the soil, you're giving back to the soil when it's supposed to yield and all those things. And you are buying, you're purchasing, you're creating a market for it. It's ethical, and it is those things that you are producing. It can be rice, can be maize. At that point, it is Sharia compliant. It is within the bounds of the Sharia. The way the business is structured, the structure of the business makes it Sharia compliant. But you cannot say, I want to go and buy a particular alcohol. I want to invest in the company. I want to hold position in the company. Yes, they might be doing it in an ethical way, but it doesn't make it Sharia compliant. So in the situation where you're going for the two, you have to look into the ones you're going for critically. Is it within the bounds of my belief? And am I also creating an impact on the environment I'm existing in? So yeah.
I love the fact that you made it clear what the difference between ethical investment and Sharia compliant, what Sharia compliant investment is, because people might tend to mix the two. Oh, okay, it's ethical, so I can just delve right into it. But then, have you asked yourself, is it Sharia compliant? Does it align with the Islamic principles, or it's just ethically right? So people really need to understand the difference between ethical and Sharia compliant investment. Right. So thank you so much for that. So I would like us to highlight the adoption ratio of ethical investment or ethical finance. How would you say people are keen into this form of investment? I mean, it's not interest. I mean, everyone should be excited. Everyone should want to adopt this. But then the question remains, are people actually adopting this?
Okay, personally, looking at how well people adapt to Sharia compliant investment in Nigeria, let's note that because it's Sharia compliant, it does not mean it's for Muslims alone. No, it's not for the segregated or the marginalized audience. It's for everyone. Like you said, rightly said, the fact that it is interest free makes it something that everybody should want to adopt, right? So I don't have to pay a certain fee for having to invest in this and make this little amount or make this much amount, right? And so I think for now, for me, gradually it is. People are catching up to the idea and people are keying into it, but not as rapid as they would have keyed into it if it was coming from a commercial, interest-based angle, right? So it's a gradual process. Right now, I think we're not even at average level of what we should be in Nigeria. Now there's still room for expansion. There's still space for people to come into the system and adopt that system as well. Even Muslims right now, we need to, I believe, a little bit more effort on enlightening people. Financial literacy is very, very important. And I believe institutions as well shouldn't just take it upon themselves to just market their products. You don't expect me to key and stick to ideas that I do not understand, right? I feel like the fear of the unknown makes people diverge from such investment options. So a little bit of more effort on the part of organization and experts, and letting people understand what Islamic finance is or what Sharia compliant investment are all about, right? It should help people catch up faster, right? Adopting the trends, right? Exposing people, exposure in general is very, very important. So right now, I would say people are catching up at a slow rate, but they can do better. There's still room to expand. The system is big enough to absorb.
Right. I mean, non-interest is very broad. It's open to everyone. It's just that at this part of the world, actually, tried to move to this, key into this at a later hour. But when we look at the
West, they have the likes of the Singapore, Sharia,
exactly, Malaysia, which have gone way
even
beyond.
Recently, Tanzania just literally opened. I think they just launched a sukuk. A sukuk is a Sharia compliance investment. You have equities, you have commercial papers, you have commodities and non-commodities based investment options or finance system that will rather enhance you and give you everything you're looking for in a normal commercial settings that you get from there, or even better, at a benefit of zero interest and aligning with your beliefs. So I think Islamic finance is a win-win.
Yeah.
It's a win-win situation.
So it's
really an idea.
Finance or alternative finance, because when we say Islamic finance,
it's impact finance as well. And then you cannot compare. I think one of the many mistakes we'll make sometimes is the way the knowledge gap. You cannot compare the methods and the way people consume knowledge. I don't like calling them first world countries because I don't believe we're a third world. We are
Honestly.
catching up. But then in those parts of the world,
Mm.
you cannot compare how fast they assimilate knowledge and how well information spread. We need to understand the dynamics of our own system, of our own heritage, and where we come from, and tailor our information to suit the needs of the users. That way, people understand. It's, for instance, now I can give you a perfect example. I was not alive then, but then we had facts and records of how difficult it was for people to transition from saving money under their pillow to taking money to the bank. They had to come down to their level.
Which is the new normal now.
Which is the new normal, right? We really need to forego the idea of, yes, we can learn from them, but we need to structure our own system to suit our own needs. And Islamic finance for Nigeria, made by Nigerians.
Exactly.
So I think that way we would be able to improve the level of awareness and the level of participation in Islamic finance by people that actually need it.
Food for thought. I love that line.
Thank you.
So moving on, let's advise, or how would you advise people to adopt this ethical or Sharia compliant investment? How would you advise Nigerians? I mean, Nigeria is a multicultural society, and I mean, we're talking earlier, and we're talking about underlying factors that affect how people think and how people adopt certain things. So how do we advise people, or how do we get people to adopt this ethical investment?
Okay, for me, like I said, it's starting from somewhere. If you're going to go into ethical investment, the question you should ask yourself is, how ethical am I? What impact do I have on the environment, right? What can I contribute in my own small little way? It can even start from as far as the plastics you use in your home. How my plastic usage, my disposal. For instance, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's actually a system in Nigeria that allows you to sell your plastic within the confines of your own home.
Yeah, waste bank. That's what it's called.
You have
waste bank. And then I think there are other ones. So now it's now a way to control dirt, control how people behave and all of that.
Right. So even Islamically, when you are practicing Islam is a religion of purity.
Yeah.
It's a religion of cleanliness. They say cleanliness is next to godliness. So even via doing that, you have started from somewhere. And then when it comes to the investment options available for you after, you need to know the right party to go to. Okay, this company, these are the kind of investment options they have. Which one is ethical? And consultation and information cannot be underestimated in this kind of situation. You have to consult them and understand where they are coming from, the impact that they're trying to create, which is it just ethical? Or is both ethical and Sharia compliant? I can be a Christian and I don't want, for some religious beliefs I have, I might be an Hausa and maybe or a Yoruba, and in my culture, they don't appreciate such things. Okay, so how do I do this thing in a way that aligns with my existing cognitive? And how do I adopt new ideas into that? Which company is this? What do they invest in? How do they go about it? They look into yourself and see that it actually aligns with your need and your beliefs and your culture, or whatever it is that you're taking into consideration when you're going into the system. And after that, then proper monitoring. Knowledge is key. Knowledge is power. Don't just leave it in the hands of your mutual funds manager or your Sharia compliant investment managers or firm manager or whatever asset managers alone. Read more, enlighten yourself, expose yourself to knowledge. I mean, there are boundless resources to tap into. And once you do that, monitor and grow. And also make sure it doesn't stop at your investments alone. It's also reflecting in your lifestyle, right? That, okay, Rama used 10 plastics today, and she didn't put it in the same way one she puts her cabbage waste and everything. She's actually separating it. She's separating her waste. She's giving the right one and putting it in the right places. Your intake and your output, right? And your investment as well, like I said, streamline your goals with that of your asset manager or your fund manager or your Sharia compliant investment firm, right? that goes in cognizance with yours. Because at one point, if there's a contradiction, you will always find faults. Sure. You will say, oh, no, party B is doing better, party C is doing better. And I'm sure, like we said, in Nigeria, we are rapidly catching up. There are firms, organizations, and institutions, even commercial banks are now having an ethical harm or a Sharia compliant harm. They are extending and they are growing bigger because they can see it is the next big thing, right, in Nigeria, and there's room to grow.
Sure. Thank you so much for that. That was indeed enlightening and brief, and I'm glad we had this conversation because people need to understand. You need to understand that Islamic finance or non-interest finance goes beyond just it's just investment or it has to do with Islamic principles and all of that. At the end of the day, like you said, it's a win-win situation for everybody. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you for having me, Rama. It's a pleasure.
Like Olaiton has rightly mentioned, we need to create tailored offering to fit our needs. That is, create Islamic finance for Nigerians and by Nigerians. And I would say that's a key take home for me. Well, with that, I say don't forget to keep it to date with us next week on the program. Follow us on all our social media platforms displayed on the screen. Thank you for watching. I am Rahma Say Muhammad.